subscriber services is something that is not anything new. I mean, for both B2B, B2C, it's well known all the cases needed for subscriber services, both in the security side. So in the security side, when we are talking about making sure that end users are protected against malware, botnets, and here we're talking about protection for end user, right? So malware botnets that they are meant to do some harm at the end user level. So stealing personal information, ransomware, things like this. So this type of security towards the end user is very important as a subscriber service. So this is one of the verticals of the subscriber services: security, botnet, malware, phishing, etc., etc. The second pillar for the subscriber services is what is called web categorization, right? So in the B2C, so in the residential, this, of course, this web categorization is also known as parental control. So at home, I want to make sure that nobody at home can access specific web categories like firearms, child pornography, etc., etc. So I'm going to use this type of tools for web categorization. In the B2B, this also is very important in a little bit of different scenario. Like, for instance, here we can see in this commercial Wi-Fi. I don't know, an example: a coffee shop provides free Wi-Fi access to all the not only employees but also the customers, right? So as the coffee shop owner, I want to make sure that nobody using the Wi-Fi infrastructure can access content that is not appropriate, right? So web categorization also makes a lot of sense in the B2B world. And then today, what we are the focus really, so it's not going to be telling you what is subscriber services. The focus in today's webinar is to make you give you an overall of all the tools that or the ways that these subscriber services can be deployed in an end user, and why we think our way of doing things, which is DNS based, is the best. At the end of the day, is the best for the ISP itself, and also the best for the end user, which is also very important. It doesn't, I mean, a solution that is comfortable for the ISP to deploy or easy to deploy, but is not really practical to the end user, is something that is a solution that is not going to fly. So this is basically the overall. So the overall subscriber services, it makes sense. It makes sense for the ISP because, and here we are talking about the ISP already had invested in this DNS infrastructure. So you need to have DNS infrastructure, and here, of course, I'm focusing on the DNS infrastructure, the recursive caching side, not the authoritative, right? So your end users, they need to use your DNS infrastructure to go to the internet. So your DNS infrastructure, it is a cost center. You need to invest, but you, of course, you just use this to provide this needed service to the end user, so they can browse the network. The internet exists also with DNS. So what we offer, or our point of view, is that this cost center DNS infrastructure that is just cost center, now it goes to a revenue center. So on top of that, you can now deploy add-ons, so things that you can stack up on top of your DNS infrastructure, modules, let's put it like this, per se. So now the same infrastructure now allows you to deploy and to give those value-added services to the end users. Why DNS? So when we think about any type of security or even parental control, web categorization, we can think about two main ways to deliver this to the end user. One way would be agent-based. So agent-based, you have three examples of agent-based. The first that pops up to the mind is an agent or an application installed in the end user device. This is your typical example of an antivirus, which also evolves not only just an antivirus, but can be used also parental control, etc. So this is a typical example. The most known or the first ways that this type of security was achieved by installing an agent on the end user device. Of course, this is once it's installed and working, this end user device probably is protected. Why is that? Because I mean it is the funnel of all the security. Of course, it needs to go through that application. The problem with then end user devices is there are several pros and cons. There's for any solution there is always pros and cons. Here, of course, the problem with that end user device is, first of all, the end user needs to install this in the device. A lot of ISPs, a lot of our customers, they talk to us and say, we offer for free antivirus to our customers, and the uptake for the percentage of users that they really install this antivirus, it's really low, lower than 5%. So this is, the ISP is providing for free some antivirus and people are not taking it. Why is that? Because you need to install, you need to make sure that is configured, you need to make sure that is up to date, etc. Also, end user device, as Marco pointed out, in the new IoT world is a completely no-go. You cannot install any type of agents on your IP cameras, your fridge, your TV, things like this. You cannot install antivirus. So you really, this type of end user devices agent is already a no-go in that sense. The second way to do this on an agent base will be, and then as you see, we are stepping every time away from the user. So from the end user device now, there is a lot of vendors that offer this type of protection in the Wi-Fi access points. So you have a mesh, a Wi-Fi mesh at home, and then this Wi-Fi mesh offers this centralized, when I say centralized, at least in the home level, centralized protection. Right, can be security, can be parental control at the Wi-Fi access points. Of course, now we have an advantage. The advantage here is that now all the devices, including IoT devices connected to that Wi-Fi network, are protected or under the web categorization. Of course, there is a lot of holes on this. Hardwire equipment, any type of equipment that you have at home that don't go through the Wi-Fi network, they are not going to be protected, right? So this is one problem already. These access points. The second problem would be if you leave your home. So if I'm with my ISP, I have fixed services and mobile services. As soon as I leave my home and I'm in the 4G, 5G network, I'm not protected anymore. So it's a very localized protection. It works well for this nucleus, this home, but then as soon as you step out, you are not protected. And similar is agent-based that they are installed at the router or the home cable modem, the fiber modem, the ISP router. So there are some customers of us that they do have this type of protection. So some agents that are installed in the fiber router. Of course, now every single equipment, no matter whether it's in the Wi-Fi network or hardwire, they are going to go through the cable modem, right? So they are going to go through this protection. The problem is that now, I mean, you really need some very specific cable modem with enough hardware resources to be able to handle the type of task that you need for this web categorization, security, etc. Also, you are not covered when you step out of home. So this is where the scenarios where agent-based. Now, the second way to provide security is network-based. Network-based solutions, we believe, first of all, are the best, because network-based solutions, it doesn't matter whether you are accessing at home through your Wi-Fi, you are hardwired, or even you are outside in the 4G, 5G network. This can be used as a converged service. So the same rules that apply when I'm at home apply also when I'm of course, in my ISP for 5G network. When we talk about network-based, then I believe it's very well established that network-based is better than agent-based. But now for the network-based, we have two main ways to go. Deep packet inspection, DPI base, which is, of course, all the traffic for specific customers. If I subscribe to a service and I need to I need to be provisioned for this security, all my traffic is going to be redirected through that DPI infrastructure. The problem with DPI is that scalability is expensive, right? So this DPI used to work well in the older mobile world. So DPI was never really very strong in the fixed, in the mobile. But now that mobile is basically looking exactly the same as fixed, of course, with 5G now there's really no difference. A lot of Wi-Fi, they are going to disappear. Why is that? Because 5G would be much better in terms of. So DPI is expensive, and scalability is a problem. So that's why at the end of the day, DNS is what we believe a very, very cost-effective way to do this type of solution. So why is that? Because DNS just inspect the control traffic. We don't really need to do a deep packet inspection. We don't need to look at everything. We just look at the top, at the control plane, right? So it's like a postman. I mean, you don't need to open the letter to see whether the content is good or not. You just see the outside of the post, whether the destination is good or not. So that's why DNS is a very, very, and we see a lot of customers migrating to this type of DNS-based solutions because of that, because it's much cheaper, scalability is much flexible than DPI-based. So, of course, this is really what I mentioned, what we call, legacy approaches, maybe not just legacy, but other approaches where all the traffic needs to go through a specific infrastructure. This is a bottleneck. And then, of course, for scaling this, you need to make sure that all the traffic for the specific customer, and then this is where it's a problem. It doesn't matter whether it's good traffic, bad traffic, but all the traffic needs to go through that infrastructure. So, and this is why, in our case, we analyze only the DNS data, right? It's very lightweight. It's very lightweight DNS data, so it's easy to inspect. We can be very fast at taking actions again with this data. We are very fast at doing some categorization, blocking. Why is that? Because all the policies, we don't rely on the policies to be centralized, and then the DNS needs to go to that place and see whether the specific DNS request is valid or not. all the policies can be spread through the edge. So the DNS server itself already holds all the information that it needs to know whether a DNS packet it is good or not, right? Of course, there is a central, we can call a policy manager that handles all the policies, but then this policy manager sends this information out to the edge devices. When I say edge devices, are the DNS servers itself. So this is a big plus. The DNS server is self-sufficient to make the decision very fast. You don't need to go and check on a central location. It is very important, and here we say we can converge networks. So if I'm a customer of my ISP and I have some security rules, not only security, but also web categorization policies at home, as soon as I step out of my house and I go to the 4G, 5G network, the same rules apply. Why is that? Because we can, at the end of the day, the commonality of both networks, whether it's a fixed network, mobile network, is the DNS, right? So when I apply the rules at the DNS level, I can apply the rules to both networks. So that's a big plus. My security policies, they follow me. Well, and as I mentioned, of course, in terms of visibility reporting, it's very easy for us to have this, to provide the end user with the visibility they need, because it's for any security product that you offer, it is as good as the visibility you give to the end user, right? So if I'm as an end user, even though if you are doing a very well job protecting me against a lot of attacks, but I don't know about it, so I don't really understand the value of this tool. The way that I'm going to, as an end user, I'm going to understand how good is your tool is that, of course, you provide to me, first of all, could be a web interface where I can see everything that is happening in terms of security, or as an ISP, you send regular information for the end user explaining what for the last month, how many attacks were blocked against your household, et cetera, et cetera. So reporting and being able to deliver those reports to the end user is critical for the long term of a solution. And we have experience in that is customers that they don't really think about this type of reporting. The uptake at the end of the day is not as good as customers that really have done a good job in making sure that they keep the end user aware of what the security tool is doing for them. So this is key, even though sometimes for it is not thought about in the process. I mean, we have a lot of experience with customers deploying this. So we have some steps. We provide a lot of guidance to our customers in terms of what to do. So the go-to-market, we give this help to our customers for the go-to-market. So what type of security you need to install at the first time, how you have to approach your end user, how you have to give feedback to the end users, et cetera, because it is, I mean, your success is our success, right? So that's why we really want the tool that you're installing to be successful, because at the end of the day, we are both. Well, here, as Marco said, some use cases, probably we don't need to go into much details on use cases, but it's typical. In the consumer, I mean, in the consumer side, it's easy. Usually, I always, and our recommendation always when we start with customers is don't try to offer too many things at once. So always our recommendation is this first step, offer some security that is measurable. So make sure that you tell your customers, look, you are now subscribe to a security packet. This security packet is going to protect you against X, A, B, C, D, and E. So you provide this information, and then regular monthly basis, make sure that this customer receives a report about what this security package is doing for them on a monthly basis, right? Because customers, they need to understand, first of all, that the product that you are providing, the service that you are providing, it has value for them. And then on top of the security, usually what happens is ISPs, they can offer better packets. So once the security is established and I trust the packet and I trust the service from my ISP, then you can add up on top of that, for instance, household content filtering, and then it starts really with parental control, etc. So these are the two typical use cases, and I mean probably 99% of the cases for the consumer. For the enterprise, we see a little bit of, for instance, mostly for the small business. I mean, here when we are talking about a small medium business, the profile is similar to the consumer base. So you have a small business with maybe 10 to 50 employees, where you really need to make sure that security is important, and the parental control, it now becomes a little bit more of content filtering. So as a small business, I want to make sure that, I don't know, my employees during business hours, they don't access social media, they don't access shopping categories, things like this. So it is a little bit, the way it is configured is a little bit different, but it's similar to the consumer. A little bit more bigger size customers. So now you have more problems. For instance, I always use this coffee shop example where, I don't know, I want to make sure that the IoT devices, my point of sales devices are secure, things like this. So IoT is important. Well, here is really what I was, I mentioned already in terms of the requirements, right? After you also have the security, it's checked, right? So usually requirements, and this varies with the needs. So for instance, if you are providing this service to your customers, to your employees, or you are providing, for instance, free Wi-Fi, even at the government, I mean, at the, so in the subway, you are providing free Wi-Fi. It doesn't matter. Every time we're talking about a service that we are providing to the masses in terms of a public service, it is very important to make sure that you have the options to mix and match the categories you want to provide. So obviously, if you are providing a public Wi-Fi, of course, you are not going to block social media, but definitely you are going to block other very problematic points like violence, pornography, drugs, things like this. And of course, the solution, as we say, it's using the DNS, right? So using the DNS is going to allow you to do all those things, security and web categorization, without really much problems. One of the key things also we provide to our service provider customers, and this is very specific to service provider, we call SPLA, Service Provider License Agreement, is the ability to have this volume-based licensing. So then you don't need to worry about how many instances, how many DNS servers you deploy, because when we are talking about subscriber service, we are not talking about just the DNS servers, right? Behind the scene, there are other servers, policy managers. There's so many other servers that are here take into the game that you don't want to limit the service provider in terms of architecture. So license agreement allows the service provider to pay per use. So for instance, you are going to pay, if we are talking about just DNS, per QPS, if we are talking about subscriber services, per user that is subscribed. So it's a very easy way for the service provider to predict the ROI, right? So you're not gonna pay, of course, there is an initial deployment, but then for the licensing, you're not gonna pay unless you have a subscriber. So as soon as you have a new subscriber, then you pay the license for that to handle that subscriber. So it's a very flexible way for service providers to handle volume, right? Volume of this type of deployments that is not very well known. You don't know initially, of course, depending on the type of how you do a opt-in versus opt-out, the region, we probably know a little bit what would be the uptake in terms of the service, but at the end of the day, for the ISP, it's a question mark. I don't know. I'm not going to invest something where I'm not sure whether I'm going to have an uptake or not. So this gives the ISP some flexibility to handle that product.
Yeah, let me add here some flavor as well. So first of all, yeah, so you what you are getting here is the DNS platform from us, yeah, and with this superior DNS platform, you are able to support the growth, yeah, that you need, yeah, and the latency requirements and the speed and everything for all the new challenges that are ahead of in every service provider organization, and based on this DNS platform, you can build then all these subscriber services, yeah? And the subscriber services you can build already with a very small security license, which is based on QPSs, yeah? So in queries per second, which you can give even as a value service, which you can give for free to your customers, just to show them, hey, you are in a secure network, you're in a quality network, and on top of it, yeah, you can build additional security services which are subscriber based then, yeah, where you pay per subscriber then, yeah. So it's a very flexible modular model that we are delivering, yeah, to every service provider customer. Sorry, Beltran, I just wanted to
no problem. Sounds good. Yeah. So I believe we are done here. Just a summary what we spoke, right? So as I already mentioned, we believe that DNS-based solutions are the best. The reason why I already mentioned, agent-based versus network-based, et cetera. So scalability, it's key. So scalability in pricing usually is the factor that is making a lot of customers running away from the DPI-based solutions towards the DNS-based solutions. So scalability. Predictable return of investment, of course, is very important for you to understand and be able to predict what is, you don't want to invest a lot of money into something that you are not 100% sure what is going to be your return. So you really need our help in terms of the flexible licensing. So for you really to have this ease of mind in terms of deployment. Capabilities of your existing investment. This is also very important. DNS infrastructure is something that you need no matter what, right? So why not just use the same infrastructure that it's a must for you? This DNS infrastructure is a must. Why don't you use the same infrastructure to build on top of it subscriber service? So it's a logical way to go. Of course, this allows you to enable multiple revenue streams. As Marco mentioned, sometimes, and some of our customers, and depending this, each customer is different, you can offer the first type of security packet for free, And then on top of that, you can upsell other packets like per device, policies, or web categorization, et cetera. So allows you to really provide this to your customers. Allows also to create that stickiness. So your customers, I mean, once they are with you and they have those security packets, those web categorization, parental control from you. So it's more difficult for this customer to jump to a different ISP, right? So this stickiness is very important. And that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, the key for this is to provide your customers something that they need. I mean, it's more and more. It's customers they want this type of security and parental control, web categorization, and for you, of course, it's very important the revenue stream, and also for the stickiness, right? So you increase the revenue per user, which is at the end of the day what all the ISPs they want.